Alright, boys and girls, welcome to day 3 of Drawing Boot Camp. Today we're going to focus on yet again another still life drawing. We've already done some grapes, focusing on circles and cross contour and contouring. We worked on a bread bowl or a bread still life, focusing on blocking. So today we're going to do a little combination of the two. We're going to do some quick gesturing, then we're going to develop some of the contours, but then we're going to really get into more of the shading side of things. So let me show you roughly what we're going to do. Alright, we're going to draw out this bread bowl, or this bowl of fruit. Alright, we're going to have an apple and a pear and some other smaller circular objects in here. We're going to throw in a couple of mushrooms. We're going to have an orange, and the one that really stands out that really doesn't fit here, we're going to have a wild onion here at the bottom. But, you know, once again, still lifes, there are lots of fun things that you can put in them. Now, let's get started. So the first thing I want to do, as always, put your border around. Alright, I'll say this again, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're working in our sketchbook. Alright, the more irregular this is, a lot of times the better it looks. Alright, now, that being said too, what I want to do is I want to divide the picture plane up into 3 equal sections, both vertically and horizontally. Alright, now, yes, mine's a little wide in the center. Alright, that happens. My image is wider, so no harm, no foul in that part. But what I want to focus on today in this drawing is the rule of thirds. Alright, and you're going to hear me talk about this a lot, the rule of thirds. Alright, and basically what it does, and it tells you, the artist, and other people as the viewer, that you are paying attention to every corner and every single section in the middle of the piece. Alright, a lot of people when they draw, they just draw right here. They put the image right in the center. Other people when they draw, they break the borders too much and it really becomes really obtuse. Some people put everything left or right hand justified or left hand justified. Alright, but other times they'll put things and just leave out big chunks. So there may be nothing up here, but all the drawings down there. So what the rule of thirds does is it tells you to think, of your vertical pieces or your horizontal pieces into 3 sections. So I've got 3 vertical columns. I have 3 horizontal columns. And I want to look at those, and I want to make sure that everything in those areas are dealt with. Alright, there's something there that's either of substance or that is visually moving you somewhere else. Alright, and we'll talk about that a lot as we go through this piece. Alright, now the first thing we want to do is we want to gesture out, alright, our drawing. Alright, remember, we are gesturing to get a good roadmap. Alright, now we're going to use a little bit of a blocking technique, but we're also going to do kind of a scribble as well. Alright, so a scribble technique is kind of new to us. Basically, you're not really lifting your pencil. Alright, notice how I'm holding it back here. But really am just kind of, throwing lots of lines. Alright, really scribbly. Alright, I know I've got 2 circular objects here. Then I'm going to start blocking in part of my pear, and then I'll get the cone shape of the pear. Alright, once again, it's not about being perfect right off the bat. Alright, it's about getting perfect over time. Alright, so got that laid out. As I look at this, that's a little too far out for me compared to what's over here. I like that better, so I'll shape that. Alright, now I've got 2 mushrooms. Now, I kind of made a little bit of a mistake here. I do want this mushroom to have the stem going this way. Alright, and then this one is going to falter that direction. So see how, being loose and light, I was able to just quickly change the orientation of those mushrooms. Alright, now here overlapping in the foreground, as I go into this bottom right, I'm going to throw in that orange. Alright, constantly trying to change the shape of that, alright, to make it a little bit more irregular. And then in front of that, alright, almost going to bleed off the page, I'm going to have an onion. Alright, an onion is teardroppy, alright, in shape. Kind of reminds me of those little eardrop things you get when you're little that they clean your ears out with. Why, I don't know. This is one of those Sturgill moments there. Alright, so sketched in my main objects. Now, once I've done that, let's throw in a tabletop back here so we have a little bit of that kind of going on. Alright, now from here, let's throw in some fun things. Let's throw in, where, like the orange, where all the information is going to come out, so I'll get that. I like this apple, but as you saw in my drawing before, alright, I want more to my apple than this. So I'm going to put a larger stem, and I'm actually going to leave the leaf on it, alright, because here's that first moment of clarity when we're talking about rule of thirds and trying to get things around, through the piece. When I looked at this, alright, as I was sketching it, I was like, man, there's nothing up here. The way I put the bowl there, alright, there really isn't anything in this upper corner. So I've got to do something. So instead of trying to fill it or just shading it in all the way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these leaves as a way to get into my piece. Alright, one of the rules of Western art is that we always start where we read at. So that's the upper left hand corner. That's not always indicative to every piece of artwork, alright, but if there's nothing like blaringly capturing your attention, rule of thumb is we start up here. Alright, so knowing that, and knowing that there's not going to be like super eye-catching stuff in this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use where I know I'm going to start at, and I'm going to use these things to kind of move my eye. So this falling off of this leaf, and even if I put a little bit of shadow underneath it, that tells me that I could go down this way if I want. Alright, this stem kind of sets me on a course this way. Alright, this leaf sends me toward my pear, which brings me around the page. Alright, so quickly, this is just a good teaser of what's going to go on in the piece, and it just gives me that visual movement. So I do want to have you add that to the outside, visual movement. Alright, and it's not movement like this is movement. Alright, it's visual movement and how you get from point A to point B to point C. Alright, or from point C to point E. Alright, so you're really just trying to draw your attention through the piece of artwork. Alright, now, as we've done before, rule of thirds, yes. Got the gesture, yes. This is the contouring part. Alright, we're really laying in the contour of all the different elements here. So I've got my apple going on, and I've got this, maybe it's a peach that's tucked in here. Alright, we know we have the pear that's going to be here, so you want to go ahead and develop that bell shape of the pear. That's going to go around. Now, I know my stem's going to go here, and I'm actually going to use that stem a little bit to, kind of get us some more movement. But I'm also going to put the navel of the pear down here, so that also gives me something to kind of draw our attention this way. Alright, now, since this is a rounded bell shape, I do want to go back to something we haven't worked on the last couple of lessons, is that cross contour. Alright, I do want to lay in some of those just so that I can get a little bit more roundness, because we have this concept here called foreshortening, where you've got something in front of and something behind. And it's not too extreme, but you are taking up some front to back space. So I really wanted to develop that concept there. Alright, so got my apple. Let's get the bowl rim a little bit better. Constantly just keeping my pencil moving and allowing the edges to take shape over time as opposed to taking shape with one stroke. Alright, now this section right here, we know that probably there's something in the bowl underneath it, so I'm going to go ahead and darken that up. And in doing that, I really want to make sure that this is one of the darkest points of the sketch. Alright, I don't want anything really darker than this, so be very liberal and deliberate about how you shade that in. Now, we want to have a good rim to the bowl. We don't want it to be paper thin. So I am going to go back, reiterate that edge. Alright, but then while we're on the bowl, before we get into developing the contours of the other objects below, I am going to put in a little bit of shadowing. Alright, now next thing I'm going to do is start this orange. Now, with things that are rounded, alright, there's several concepts on how to draw rounded things. One, you take a protractor and you just round it. Two, you do as we've been doing here as of late and just kind of draw and let it morph over time. Alright, another concept, and this is just a tool for your tool belt, alright, is that circles or line segments. So if you're paying attention to what I'm doing, instead of going big broad strokes, I'm using tiny quick changes. Alright, so I'm like this way, that way, this way, this way, this way, and each time, alright, the curve is changing, so it allows me to get some rounded movement. Now, as we've done in several of the last sketches, alright, we throw that cast shadow down here. Alright, keep it darker underneath the object. Alright, but make it go in the same direction that the table is going. Alright, and if you want to go ahead and reiterate that, you could put some shadow back here. Be very cognizant of reflected light. So if there is shadow, it should get darker by the object, but lighter as it dissipates away. And I'm going to leave a little space here so that there's some space in between that. So I don't want it to be completely 100% connected all the way around. There should be this kind of flow value. Alright, keeping that going, I'm going to put a little bit underneath our onion. Then I will go in, do some developing of the onion. Alright, I'm going to put some little dark hair fibers here on the end. Bring this around too. And then this one, even though it is kind of the same kind of hair fiber, I'm going to make it a little bit more prominent, whereas this is close together, lots of tiny hair. This is more of a stalk. Alright, so at this point, keep developing contours. I'm going to go around, alright, the bottom, and then here we go. I'm going to jump in these mushrooms. Alright, so I'm going to make these edible button mushrooms. Alright, so we don't want to be out in the wildlife trying to find mushrooms that are, could be poisonous, blah blah blah. So we want to make them nice and rounded. Now inside the bulb of the mushroom, I'm going to kind of tire spoke this. Alright, so I start over here. Alright, kind of finding an imaginary epicenter, and I'm just going to walk around. Same way with this. I'm going to get the stem first. I'm going to tuck it behind what I need to tuck behind. Alright, then I'm going to get the dome of the mushroom there, and then any of this on the inside. And I'm going to leave a little bit more space in these spokes. Alright, whereas this one really is inside, heavy, dark. This one, even though it is turned away from the light, we do see a little bit more of those tire spokes. Throw in some cast shadow. Alright, now I'm working back up to the top of my drawing. Alright, now I'm going to start thinking about light sources. So I got the rule of third, I've got visual movement, so let's check that. Let's see what's going on. So if I start up here, I got this. Can I get drawn through there? Not really. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting in some clues. Alright, I'm going to make this a little darker. So if I come here, my stem is dark, it's pointing me in this direction. Alright, next thing I'll come to is a dark area. Alright, now I put a kind of a glimmer here, alright, for that apple. So to kind of help with movement, I don't always have to use line or objects. Alright, I can use value. So I'm going to start here, start shading this in. Alright, I'll work on the leaves a little bit too, making those nice and dark. Alright, but then I know about the cast shadow. Alright, I know about where the shadow is going to go. So now I got to throw in and really develop the core, because if the light source is coming from this way, the core is there. Alright, then all this stuff starts getting tucked underneath. Alright, so I've got here's where I start, visual movement. I got this that captures my eye, all right, and then I use the value to drag me down into the bowl. All right, so as I look at this, then I've got a little bit of texture, all right, because this is maybe a navel orange that has a little bit of a bump or striation there. All right, I am going to crisscross shade this one. All right, so some cross hatching there just to get that information to go in the back. All right, and then really going to roll in heavy shadow inside this. Now I got a glimmer of light there, so I'm going to work some of that value out of that around the bottom part. All right, now I don't want to put too much heavies in here. All right, I will put some there though. I don't want to put too much heavies, but when it rounds around this way, to kind of get that visual movement across, boom, that's what I need. I need a little bit there just to kind of keep things going. Now I have this dark, so what I'll do is when I get to this spot, I want to kind of get my attention to go back this way. So I'm going to start with my value here and just using some darker heavies. All right, I'm going to shade that in. You can go more rounded than me if you want, or you can go hatching. All right, but I want to use that value, so as I come across, this is almost going to be like a barrier, and like, no, don't go much further. You should come down here. All right, so that's what this is. This value is doing, is capturing your attention here, so you don't go way over here in this spot. All right, now as I look at this, I got this. All right, this visual movement, I come down this way, and that all these heavy dark lines are going to bring me down here, so I can get to this bottom part. But Mr. Turtle, you said focus on all 9 sections of the drawing. All right, so here's what I want to do. We know we have horizon line here, so what I'm going to do to help bring some interest into this area, I'm going to teardrop or raindrop some value in here. So I'm just going to go top to bottom. All right, but then I'm going to crisscross it. We'll start light at first, and I'm going to cross hatch that in. So that gives us some visual interest. Now what this does, this kind of blocks off and tells the viewer, hey, you went too far, go back. Alright, so you're really dictating to the viewer where they should be. Alright, you are in charge, this is your world. Alright, you get to be in control. Tell them where to go. Alright, and that's what this does. Alright, this little bit here does that. Now, on this side, I'm going to do a very similar thing. I'm going to start out with that raindrop aspect. Alright, but I'm going to be a little bit more deliberate. I'm going to shade this one an angle. Now why would I do that? Alright, because I want people to come into the piece this way. Over here, if they decide to leave, the door's open for them. That's what they get to choose. Over here though, alright, you got to walk in my house. Alright, and that's what this is. This is my house, this is my drawing. Alright, so I really want you to come in. I want to invite you into my piece. So that's what this information is telling you. I'm directing you to my fruit. Alright, and then I'm going to tell you, you should go this way. Alright, I'm going to tell you, you should come down this direction. I'm going to give you information down here that's pleasing. Alright, speaking of pleasing, your orange, as it comes down into this heavy area, this shadow area, alright, use more of a U shape, shade that in. Alright, it should not be smooth like these. Alright, this orange is a little bit more textured, so let your values be textury as well. Alright, now as I come up to the onion doesn't have a whole lot of info, alright, to contrast with this heavy black that we put in here, alright, and this transition of the orange that we put in there. Alright, really all it has is just a little bit of shadowing there, a little bit there. Alright, then we get to the mushrooms. Alright, we sweep back over here. Now, so they're not all just blatantly, um, nastily white. I am going to put a little bit of value in there. All right, I am going to throw some back here. All right, not a whole lot, but just enough that if you decide to take this route, that you know exactly where you're going. So we're going to go down. All right, in that same regard, I want to create some visual movement and some visual context here, putting some darker heavies in here, so that way if you do choose this route, as you come down, you pick this up and then you come full circle. Alright, so today what we have done, we worked on creating visual movement. Alright, we've blocked in sketchy, we developed contours. Alright, and then we have worked on developing the rule of thirds. We've got things in all three areas of interest. If you really want to, you put some value there just to make that, fulfill all the corners. Alright, I'm leaving this one because I've got everything else. I don't need more down here. Alright, just like I didn't really need that one. I put it in just so if you may have more room than I do. So I put that in. Alright, now you feel free if you need or you think that you need a little bit more value here, go for it. Alright, this is Sketchbook. You should be trying things. You shouldn't just, be like, oh, that's exactly the way you did it. I want to copy it. Alright, now I also going to take the trusty handy dandy eraser and pull out some of that rim just to clean it up. Alright, and I see a contour here that I need to clean up too, so I get those edges. Maybe throwing a little bit more texture on my leaf. Alright, so that basically gets us through day 3. Alright, you got a nice little fruit bowl here. You've got apple, a couple of objects. Alright, really starting to focus more on visual movement, how we get people into and around, and really kind of educating ourselves about the visual plane. You got the rule of thirds. You've got value that's creating movement. Alright, but more importantly, we've got a really nice sketching style going on. Alright, so keep playing with this, keep experimenting, and more importantly, start drawing. Anytime you have free time, alright, the more practice, the more that you put into it, the better you're going to be. Alright, so thank you for watching. This concludes number 3, and we will see you next class.